Hello everyone and welcome again. So this is a preview of the latest smoke sim, and the plan is to use this one as a final element that we render in the scene. This has not been used to affect the particles in any way, but it's an extra layer that we could add on top. The second or the other effect that I added is just a preview here where you see this red line around the object to portray that it's being heated or getting hotter and then dissolving. And this is done simply by taking the object and giving it a color. And then I have the particles, the particle sim, which looks like this. And I'm simply using an attribute transfer. So let me do that here. Attribute transfer from this, from the particles onto the geometry. And let's go to a frame. And now the range is too high, so let's just isolate it to CD and lower the distance to something really low because we want this to be quite accurate. And then I'm going to introduce some blend width to soften and smooth this result. In fact, I'm going to set this to 0 and set this to 0.4. And now we have some heat being transferred from the particles onto the surface, and I can display the particles as well, or maybe display them here. And we could use this color in the final render of our scene. All right, so I did a render of all these elements, the smoke, which is here, so the smoke element, the particles, as well as the surface, and I used Karma for this and Solaris, and this is the final comp of the effects. And you can see we have our, there's no color being used here on the surface, but the geometry is being rendered using subsurface, and then as it dissolves, we get particles emitted and everything is working. The extra smoke layer, you can see it there, I just kept it, it's very thin. I didn't want to make it super visible because I want the focus to be particles, but this is the final result, and I think it looks pretty cool. Now the next thing I want to show, this could be a bonus or it could be included in the main setup depending on what you want, but the erosion of this is not very natural. The way the object is eroding is not very natural, and I want to show a method that is, or the idea that is that can be used to create some really complex effects. Let me Google something super quick. I'm going to show an effect that was done using this idea or a similar idea, where you have a 3D geometry and then you run a sim or a solve on it to basically disintegrate it. You can see there's this character here, and his face is going to dissolve. And there's a layer of actual animation of the facial expression, but his skin is being eroded through this process through an SDF. And I think they had some skeleton that was like the limit of how far you can go into the geometry, but that's the idea, like a noise that's going to erode a 3D surface. And I want to show how to implement that. And what we could do with it is we can start, instead of having this mask or this black and white mask, like it's either on and off, we can get a soft erosion of the object where it's shrinking, and then the remaining or the difference of that can be used to emit particles, and it's going to look much more natural, much more organic, and it would just be a matter of replacing the SDF with this newly created SDF. So we're going to take a look at subsolver erosion in the next video. Thank you for watching. See you in a bit.